Hi, all. Happy Thursday. Welcome to this live today. I'm your coach, Swapna Medidi, and I'm the admin of this group, Wellness at Women. I'm a certified holistic wellness coach, so I don't want to repeat again same thing about me in every live. I think you know about me because I have been repeating. Today live special speaker is a very different speaker compared to all the previous lives. Today's speaker is most wanted speaker because most of the parents they want to know about this about her. So here we have Alicia, who is an educational consultant. She her expertise is in STEM educational implementation and also in gifted and talented educational system. So Alicia, kindly give your introduction.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So again, my name is Alicia Verwee. I am in Mississippi in my location, but I service actually the entire U.S. and we actually have some clients abroad as well. I have over 17 years of classroom experience. As a classroom teacher, my last almost 9 years were spent in the gifted classroom teaching second through sixth grade gifted kids. So I do have my gifted endorsement. And I have also done a plethora of other grade levels. And then I was our STEM coordinator for the school. So anything and everything from which STEM products we were going to purchase to our after school STEM program and what the curriculum was going to look like was something that I handled. So that is sort of my background. And then I decided to leave the classroom about 2 years ago, and I'm now doing consulting work. And the majority of the people that I work with are within the school system, either educators or organizations within the school. So that could be parent organizations, or it could be individual educators, or it could be the school system. I have worked with a few individual parents also. And what we do is everything from vetting products, meaning we look at the quality level of the products, their academic value, as well as their academic tie-ins. So does it actually have true standards aligned lesson plans and things that go with it? How well is the product built? Is it going to last? What kind of value you're getting for your money? Things like that. And then we also look at how it's going to be implemented within the school system. In addition to that, I can speak on behalf of the gifted education laws and talk about kind of how to set up programs and things of that nature. So that is what we do from a consulting standpoint and how I got into the business.
So, as I know, you initially worked as a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So, what inspired or motivated you to start on your own as educational consultant?
Well, anybody that has dealt with the school system can certainly understand there are a lot of politics involved with that. And so having to deal with that and feeling the frustrations of the students not always getting what I felt like they needed because of the politics involved became a frustration for me. And I had a lot of companies already asking for my assistance. And a lot of organizations outside of just the school system. And so it just became the natural progression is I can still help education and do what I'm passionate about and not have to deal with the political side of things. And it's been very, very lucrative and beneficial for me and the people that I get to help because I don't have to worry about jumping through some of those hoops.
So, I really wonder, like, even in this area, there are politics. I
Oh,
thought it's
yeah.
like only few areas, but not. I came across even healthcare. So now it's like
Mhm.
first time listening. Even for STEM and gifted and talented, there are politics.
Yep.
So, can you tell how do you help the parents uh, to help their children to get into the gifted and talented education?
Sure. The
systems?
first thing that I want to do is make sure that everybody understands, because I don't know who we have joining us, and in the US particularly, each state is different. And so that's the first thing that you need to understand. But even though each state does their own laws and their own criteria for gifted, there's really only two types of gifted programs that exist. One is an academically gifted program, which means it is based on kind of an outline of what the state says is important. And they look at things like grades and what the school and what the student criteria is going to be. And often that's things like leadership skills, creativity, innovation, and grades. Those are usually kind of the top things that they look at. And then the other is an intellectually gifted program. That is strictly based on IQ. So there isn't anything that you can do if you're in a state, and Mississippi is one of those. You really can't do anything to prepare your child for those programs, because they're going to take a test and they either have the IQ or they don't. And so those are much more focused on social emotional needs of those children than they are on kind of that holistic development. So I'll focus most of our time and questions on helping in relation to the academically gifted programs, because those are going to be the ones. And Texas is a state, I know you live in Texas. Texas is one of those states that has an academically based program.
Okay. So, like as you said, IQ. So still there are some parents who doesn't have any clear idea about this IQ. So as you are an experienced expert in um, gifted and talented as well as STEM educational in system, can you explain this, like IQ, how they are selecting the students?
There is usually a group IQ test done first, meaning they'll test them. Usually it's in groups of 6 to 8. At the max, it's generally 10. And so they'll give them a test. These are much like the standardized tests that you see, but they're not based on academics. They're going to be based on things that are going to be like puzzle related things. They're based on how the child thinks and how their brain works. So often they're not even things that the child has to read. It's going to be things like identifying patterns that they see, or, what's the missing link to something, or associate. If it is an older child and they do get into reading, it'll be like associated words. What word doesn't fit in this group? Things of that nature are some of the easier ones to kind of describe. A lot of them are visually related. So you're looking at visual aspects of it. So they're kind of hard to describe without showing them. But these are really due to just basic, either the kid is there or they aren't. You can do some minor things in terms of helping that. A lot of it just has to do with making sure your child is exposed, meaning talk to them, read to them, the normal things that we're all told to do. And then from there, it's a God-given thing. There's not much you can do about the rest of it. You know what I mean?
I think IQ preparation, that is not in our hands, and that is not nothing related to the academic preparation. So
Correct.
it is like it is the like how the kid is using different types of learning techniques.
Correct. That's
So
going to
it
be
is
more the academically gifted side. And
yeah.
so from here, really, this is where STEM and STEAM and gifted kind of all overlap. And so in speaking of STEM and STEAM, the big difference there is STEM is without the arts, STEAM is with the arts. There's been a lot of connection to the arts over the last 8 years, where they're really drawing in that incorporation of the arts. And mainly because of the research that's connected to that, because they're finding that that creativity component is hugely important. There's been several studies and lots of research done discussing how important, even people that are hiring people coming out of school now, industry leaders are saying that that's one of the key things that they're looking for. So not just within the STEM programs or to get your child into that, but also for future job readiness. That creativity skill is massive when it comes to marketing your child just in general and preparing them for the world. So the arts has been a huge focus over the last 8 to 10 years. And so now you're hearing more of it referred to as STEAM rather than STEM. And that initial coin term of STEM was initiated back in 1990. So it's not anything new. But what we're finding is it really is new in terms of the last 5 years or so. The schools are really starting to focus on it. So, in general, we tend to, in the United States, take a while to get on board and sort of start implementing things. And it has to be pushed and forced into existence. So as parents, this is where you can really have a huge advantage for your child personally, is get them involved at an early age. And often we think at an early age, we're thinking they have to be readers to be involved with STEM, and they don't. There's loads of products out there now that incorporate all of these skills without needing reading abilities. One of those is like the Kibo robot that we have. They're scanning blocks. And so you're working with those manipulation skills, those fine motor skills that your children need. But then already beginning to teach those critical thinking skills along with the coding aspect of things, and the sequential order and computational thinking skills that they need to develop.
So it's like something about the child mindset.
Yes.
Gifted and
Yes.
talented STEM or STEAM. So what is this STEAM? I'm hearing for the first time. I heard about this STEM, but STEAM, how is it different from STEM?
STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math.
Yes.
STEAM is science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So the only difference is they're incorporating the arts. And so what that means, and it doesn't just mean that, they have to be drawing a picture, but oftentimes, and I have this discussion very frequently with teachers even and administrators, is that art is that component that isn't just the frilly frou-frou stuff where we make it look pretty. But when you think about engineering design, you have to think about art. You have to think about how are we going to build this? When I'm physically going to construct a model of something, that is art. So it's not always about how am I going to make it look pretty or what colors I'm going to use, but also that just building component where they're modeling and building with whether it's clay or it's, straws or whatever it is that you're using, that component where they're getting hands-on, it's implementing another part of their brain. And that's that side that the creativity part lives on. And so that's what we want to really make sure that the two sides are merging. And so that's where the importance of STEM and STEAM comes into play, is you're really meeting the parts of the mind together. So they're no longer in silo separated where you've got, your mathematical components and your analytical components here, and then you've got your artistic components here. We want to merge those two together.
I have background sound until so sorry. So like how can a student get into this STEM? For gifted and talented, they have this yearly annual review kind of thing, like test thing is there, star test through state educational system.
Yeah.
So for this system, how is it? How they will select the students?
STEM is not an easy answer there. Most schools are implementing it now within the school day. And so it could simply just be grades based. Again, this is going to be different from school to school to school, district by district. So to answer that on a wide scale is a very difficult thing to do because it's pretty much impossible. It's whatever rules the school is setting up. The State Department really hasn't set out any laws for that yet, whereas gifted education does have some laws and some regulations. STEM really doesn't, other than they want to see it implemented. That's really the only thing that's been mandated. And so as a parent, if you're interested in this, what I would suggest is go to your school, ask the principal or the assistant principal or your district administrator over curriculum who you need to talk to, who's in charge of the STEM program, and find out from that person what the requirements are, and then from there figure out, what you need to do to get your child involved.
Okay. So how the gifted and talented is different from STEM and how STEM is different from STEAM. I think STEM doesn't have this art
Correct.
compared to STEAM. Then what is the difference between the gifted and talented and the STEM?
Well, again, some of that is going to depend on what state they're implementing it in. And what you're
Okay.
going to see is a lot of crossover. So, a lot of the skill sets that you see them focusing on in STEM and STEAM education is also what you're seeing them focus on in the gifted and talented programs. And so that's why you see that overlap so regularly. That creativity, so creative thinking, critical thinking, computational thinking, those are three terms you're going to hear very regularly, and you're going to hear them in both programs. And these are things where, they're applying real world scenarios. So project-based learning. So they're really getting into something that's going to happen within the real world. They have to solve a problem that would truly exist and then figure out how they're going to deal with that. And so that is where these two are kind of finding themselves coming together, even though they're two very separate programs. The big difference with STEM and STEAM, that is a very big distinction between the gifted and talented and those programs, is oftentimes the CT skills, which is going to be computer science or coding skills, where they're really getting into the robotics or the coding of those. Gifted and talented doesn't require that. Most of the programs are bringing it in, but it is not a requirement in their curriculum. Whereas with STEM and STEAM, you are going to see those requirements as part of the curriculum.
Okay. So among the three, which option is the best? Which is the best option? Do you suggest?
Again, I think that that's an option that's going to depend very specifically on the child. That's a case by case situation, and it's really going to depend on your child's personality. It's also going to depend on your state and how they run the program as to whether it's the best fit for your child. My biggest advice there is be careful not to be so eager to label your child that that's all you're worried about. Really talk to your children and make sure it's of interest to them and find the right program for them to be in. And that exposure has a lot to do with it, because oftentimes they don't know they're interested until they're exposed.
Yeah. So how it helps any child if they are into this STEM or STEAM? How it help their future?
Well, right now, the last statistics that I saw, there's a lot of talk about, robots are going to take over all of our jobs. We hear that a lot. And
Yeah.
actually, what most of the research is telling us is that by 2028, we're going to be somewhere around 2.4 to 2.5 million positions unfilled in the STEM arena. So we need people to fill these jobs. These are where kids are coming out of school right now that are not qualified to do the jobs that companies need them to do. So if you're looking at, regardless of the programs within school, if you're just thinking about your child's future, this is stuff that you want to get them exposed to, because they are going to have to work with robotics and coding in some form. All of our children are going to have to do that in some way by the time that they graduate.
Okay.
So, big thing there in terms of future preparation. The other thing that I want to tell you is that there was another big study done, and 100 plus point increase in the SAT scores were shown from that study by
Oh.
kids that had exposure to STEM or STEAM.
Oh. Okay. Wow.
So just in general, you see the benefits across every platform. There's really no reason that your school shouldn't have it. And if parents are listening and your school doesn't have a program for this, you really should be advocating for your school to implement a program for this. And in my opinion, it shouldn't be something the kids should have to qualify for. This should be a program for STEM and STEAM that is accessible to every child in the building. If I had my way, every school in America would have it. It would be in place, and every student would be in those programs.
Okay. So, um, suppose if the parent is interested in this STEM or STEAM, and suppose the schools are not providing it, then what is the other way to get into it?
The other way is to kind of look at local organizations. Sometimes, if you have a local like YMCA or Young Leadership Council, you can reach out to them and they may have listings within your area. A lot of places are starting to open up and pop up like camps and things locally within the communities. So, reach out and ask questions about those. And sometimes you can even have the school may not have it, but you can inquire at the school because they'll usually reach out to the schools to let them know that these are available, especially if they know the school doesn't offer it, so that the school can get those resources out to parents.
So I can search nearby me who are offering this STEM or STEAM services.
Yes.
So, do you provide anything, any service like STEM or STEAM, or any help for gifted and talented, any guidance?
I will do one-on-one consulting. So parents can reach out to me via email. And as soon as the live stream is over, I'll make sure to share that information in the Facebook group. It is averwe@educating.com, or you can go to educating.com and reach out to me on our website. Also, if you're just interested yourself and you don't want to, go the consulting route, go onto our website and take a look at the products that we have available, and really take a look at those. That will give you some direction in terms of where to begin, in terms of how do I get my child even interested in this kind of thing, especially if they're a preschool age child. Maybe they aren't enrolled in school yet, and you have, a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, and they're at home. There's products that you can go ahead and be purchasing at home and get those children involved already at that young of an age with these STEM products and get them going.
So, you said you offer sessions, right, to the parents one on one. So, in those sessions, will you assess the child, and can you uh, let the parents know, like, they which is best program for them, like whether it is gifted and talented or STEM or STEAM in your sessions?
I can talk with the child as far as assessment. I'm not a qualified assessor. Now, my business partner is, but those have to be done in person. So that would depend on where the child's located as to whether or not we can actually do the assessment piece of it for them. But we will do an initial in terms of like basic, talk to the kid, and I can give some advice in terms of that.
So, do you offer virtual sessions for the
Yes.
parents?
Yes. We do
And
all of those virtually. Mm-hmm.
so in that sessions, you will be interacting even with the students.
We'll have one session if they choose for us to do with the child. We'll have one session with the parent and one with the child. So we like to do those separately.
Okay. So, like you said, the kids who are into this STEM or STEAM, they are showing good in academics. They are doing very well in academics. That is what
Not
the
always. Not always. Sometimes what you'll see is they may do very poorly in, say, reading, but they do really well in math.
okay.
And so sometimes you see those disproportionate things happening.
Okay.
And often just getting the child involved in STEM programs will ultimately raise the academic areas just by
So,
default.
so will it help the child to improve their motor skills?
It depends on what kind of products they're working with. But yes, if they're getting into the building and the construction aspect of things, and especially if you're getting the child involved at an early age, most of those products are going to develop some of those fine motor skills.
Okay. And so coding is comes under STEM or STEAM coding skills?
Coding is
Yeah.
going to come under both of those. That's going to
Tech-
come under the technology piece. So that's the T of both of those.
Okay. So gifted and talented doesn't have this coding or robotics, whereas STEM and STEAM has it.
Correct.
Um, so, like, can you share some of the at least one product, like how it works? Simple
Yeah.
product.
I'll give you kind of two that may help. We'll do one for like younger students and one for a little bit older. So the one for the younger kids that comes to mind is like the Bluebot. He is a very basic robot, and all he has is arrows on the top. And so what they're learning to do is, press arrows, but they're learning to use patterns. And so they don't have to be able to read. They can use this bot as young as like 3 years old. And then as they start to learn skills, they like playing with the robot. So it then encourages them to do other things. So now, we're going to drive the robot to letter C, or we're going to drive the robot to find number 4. And so you begin to incorporate these other skills with it. But they're having to learn a lot of very basic skills that we often don't think about. You're learning direction. So you're learning left and right. And of course, at those young ages, all of that's very important. So the directional skills, the patterns, the sequences, having to put things in a certain way to the bot, and they pick up on this really quickly. And so they begin to understand how coding works before they ever get into a computer platform or anything of that nature. And then if you want to go something for older kids, probably say around anywhere from like second grade through about sixth grade. And you're looking for something that's easy to implement at home, but isn't necessarily a robotics product. There's two that I would suggest that you look at. KiwiCo is one, and that's a home delivery subscription. The link is on our site for that as well. And it sends kits to the kids. So they have pre-done problems for the kids to sort of investigate and solve, and something for them to build. So it really incorporates all of those STEAM components. Now they're not doing the coding and such, but you are getting all the rest of those skills, and you're getting in the computational thinking in the sense that they're building and thinking through. And then the other one that I really like is Three Ducks Design. And again, this covers a wide age range, and you don't need a computer at home to do it. So those are both really nice, especially if you're looking for something to work with on a really small budget, that's easy to do at home. Those are two great products that offer lesson plans and things like that are very easy for you to implement as a parent at home. So.
Okay. So, how is it the robo you which I have seen in your website? How is it different from the toy robo outside?
From the what?
From robo, what we have available, like toy robo. How is it different from like toy robots? We have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, is it the same thing or is it like different?
You're going to have a wide variety of robots available. What we do on our site is any of the robots that we have on our site, or any of the products that we have been fully vetted, which means we have gotten them, we've played with them, I've dropped them on the floor. I've looked at cost versus what they provide in addition to the bot. So we have not only just looked at a robot, but how does this really tie into the skills that the child is learning? And then also, what's the durability look like? And then what is the cost for what I'm getting look like? So we've looked at all of those components. So if you're finding it on our site, it's because we stand behind that product. So that's really important to know, is that you don't have really anybody else in the industry doing this. And we do not sell these products directly. So that's a big thing to understand also, is that you're not buying from us. And we've also identified the best places for you to purchase these. So when you go on our site, you're seeing the best products. But then when you click to purchase those products, we're giving you the best vendors that are out there to purchase those from as well.
Sorry, from my side, I have background going. I made a notice, but still, yeah, sometimes it happens. I think it must be okay for you.
Yeah, we're all parents, so we've
Yeah,
all done it, right? And I'm a school teacher, so I'm used to lots of it.
yeah, yeah. So, um, uh, I have seen the cards, something cards on your website. Like, how does it help? I think is it for STEM preparation or STEAM or
Yeah, some of the cards you're looking at go with certain robots. And so they either are like Dash, for instance, is a great robot. And he comes with a whole challenge card set. And so
okay,
what the cards do is give you a purpose. So you're not just purchasing a robot, but now what does the kid need to do so that they're actually getting those skill sets we need them to get? And so that's what I mean when I say we vetted products, because a robot is a robot is a robot. If you don't have a plan, if you don't have, what the kid is learning with that bot, then the value is being missed. And so you really want products that are offering that additional value. What do we do with it when we get it? Because if I don't have a plan or I don't have some sort of guidance for that, then the child isn't going to get the benefit from it. It's just another toy.
okay.
And
So
don't discredit things like games. I've got several of those on the website as well. Often we think of games as just fun, but there's some very strategic mind games out there. Chess is one of them. Chess is a great game to play to really develop those analytical skills and those computational skills. And we have a whole program. If your school does like a STEAM program, or if they have curriculum, Chess for Life is a whole curriculum that's available around chess. Or if you have a chess club, that's another one that could benefit from that. But there's also like hacker games on our site. So you can play with those, and it kind of teaches the kids the concepts without needing all the expensive tools. And so what I'm getting at is no matter what your budget or what your ability is, you don't have to be able to buy the most expensive robotic product to be able to get your child access to these skills. So there's products from very expensive to very inexpensive on our site, and all of them are going to get you within that same realm of abilities. We're still looking at the same concepts and the same type of exposure for the kids.
okay. So what is the price range of the products uh, on your website? What is the minimum and what is the maximum range?
You're looking at anything on there from as inexpensive as some of the games could be within the 20 something dollar range. And then you can get as high up as depending on how big of the purchase is that you go. Meaning if you're, purchasing at a district level or a multi-robotics level, like say you're purchasing for a STEM club, you may have a parent on here that, does an outside after school STEM club, then you could get, of course, obviously into the multiple thousands of dollars. So the limit is pretty much endless in terms of purchase price. But you can start as low as in the 20s. So it really just is a matter of finding, what fits your budget. And if you have difficulty with that and you're looking for something specific, please reach out to us with an email, kind of give us an idea of what you're looking for. And we're happy to help you, kind of narrow down your search if you're having issues with that.
So when you are working with the schools, so how do you work with them? Is it like you are training the teachers or the admins on this on different programs?
Both. We work with the teachers and the administrators. So sometimes it's a matter of going in and showing them how they can integrate this into the subject matters that they already teach. So we're not making it a new class. We're going to implement it into the classes you already have and how to structure that. Sometimes we're going in and we're doing training on a specific product. They've made a purchase and now they're going to implement it, and they want to know how to use this product within their curriculum within the school. And so sometimes it's training on that. Sometimes we're training on how to just sort of set up programs in general within the school. So our consulting services are very widespread in terms of what we work with the school districts on. We also have some online courses. We have a course on STEAM integration that covers everything from A to Z. what it is, how to do it, how to write a lesson plan for it for teachers, what products we suggest you kind of start with, how to assess it. So how to write a rubric if you're doing a project-based problem, how do you grade it? So how to create a rubric for that. It goes from start to finish. It is all web-based, so they can do it at their own pace. And then we also have one for administrators that's all based on school climate and culture and how to do organizational change. So if they're having trouble sort of restructuring and figuring out how to make some things work within the organization, that one's a great one as well. And again, self-paced at their own rate.
So, do you have any schools in the Dallas you are
And
working with, or any
Dallas Fort
plans?
Worth, not at the moment. We actually have been talking to a group of teachers from Dallas Fort Worth, but we have not officially done business with any at this moment. I
Okay.
actually had a webinar last week with a group of teachers that are looking into a couple of products.
Yeah. I think I came across this gifted and talented in many schools in Dallas, but I haven't seen many schools doing this STEM and STEAM. I think this should be part of the school curriculum. Um,
Yes.
so definitely, I wish you should reach out even to my son's school. I think I already mentioned you once, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't get a response, unfortunately. But yeah, I really believe that every school should have it. And if you are a STEM coordinator or you're a parent that's trying to get an after school club going, and you need some advice on that, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help you with that. I've started clubs from scratch, so I can help walk you through some of that as well. And then help you look at your budget and see, what's the best way for you to break into that based on the budget that you have to work with.
I think for you, in the process how to get into the to reach out new schools, I
Mhm.
think NAPRIS, that organization, it can definitely help you because I'm the volunteer for that, because they collaborated with many public schools across the US, and like they are offering the sessions in person directly to the high school and middle school students. I think you should offer some like demo classes in different schools, so that if kids get aware, students get that awareness and parents get that, even if the parents are putting the request to include, then yeah, in that way they may include.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll look into it.
So um, like so I think you have noticed, you have seen many students coming into the STEM and going, is it like after high school they don't they use this, or is it like uh, something limited
No,
limited
I will tell you, if the schools aren't implementing it, the kids are not prepared when they graduate. They're finding it a major shock, whether they're going into the workforce or whether they're going to college. They're just not prepared. So
oh
it's really, really important that it start being implemented and that we get it all the way down to the lowest of lowest grades. I mean, we want this starting in kindergarten all the way through school. So this isn't something we want them waiting to high school to implement. Um,
so you mean to say that every student after finishing their high school they are going to come across this,
yes, yes.
if they are in IT field, technology.
No, they don't have to be in IT or technology. I mean, most every field at this point is looking at skills that are developed out of STEM, meaning they're looking at how do you solve real world problems? Have you been involved in doing so? How do you work with different teams of people? And understanding the massiveness that technology is, you don't have to be the technology person to understand nowadays you're going to work with technology people. So whether you're in the tech team doing the coding or you're having to tell them what you need done, in some capacity, you're going to work with them. I mean, you can't go to McDonald's now and just place an order. Half the time you're ordering on a machine, right? So we all know that technology is in every part of our life. I mean, most of us can't drive a car anymore if we don't know how to work technology, right?
Yes.
So it really is becoming something that our kids need to understand, and they need to understand how all these things connect. Because more and more, what we're seeing is people working in jobs where all of these require the collaboration. They have to talk to multiple departments, and everybody needs a little bit of an idea of what everybody else's job does. And that broader concept of problem solving has to take place, because no longer are we dealing with, you're on an assembly line and you're doing a mundane task. Now everything's moving so rapidly and so fast. What we're doing is going to work every day and figuring out a new problem, a new issue. How do we solve this problem? Here's something we haven't faced before. And so what people that are hiring for these jobs are looking at is, can somebody figure out how to solve a problem? Can you do this without being given, here's your script and here's your 10 steps that you do every day? Because I can't give that to you anymore. And so what we want to do is really, we want kids to be able to problem solve. We want them to be able to think critically, and we want them to think creatively, because those are the skills required to problem solve. And the only way they're going to get these and get them in true capacity, the same way they're going to sort of get them in a job, is by doing project-based learning. And this comes through STEM integration. You have to get all of your subject areas, but you have to get them combined together. This whole siloing, we go to math class and all we do is math. And then we go to science and all we do is science. And then we go to reading and all we do is reading. We have to stop that. That's not how the world works.
It's like STEM is like a one type of learning techniques.
Exactly.
Like which can be applied to any field, whether it is medical.
Exactly.
Yeah, any field. It's not like technology, but any area. So even
something as simple as baking. When you bake a cake, right? Something very simple, everybody can understand. You need to have a little bit of knowledge of chemistry. If you don't bake well. You're like me, and all your cakes don't come out so good. I can cook anything else, but don't ask me to be a baker, because I don't do so well with it. So, that's something where you see there's multiple skill sets there. You have to be able to read a recipe, right? That's a reading skill. You have to be able to read the recipe where it has math and translate that math. If I'm going to double my recipe or I'm going to reduce that recipe, I have to be able to do math, right? I have to be able to know what to set my oven on, and what does that mean when I'm reading degrees and those sorts of things. So you've got reading skills, you've got chemistry skills, you've got math skills, right? You've got some of that science in there related to how all your chemicals are going to react, and also how you have to fold in certain things. Like when you bake, sometimes the amount of air in something is a big deal, right? As to how it's going to come out. And so that's all related to science. And none of those things can we take out and say, okay, I'm going to bake a cake, but I'm only going to do reading. That cake would come out very, very not well. Awful. But that's what we're doing in schools, is we want to silo all of these skills. And what happens is students don't make connections naturally. I mean, you think about it. If you put a child in isolation and you never talk to them, they don't learn how to speak. So if we put them in these rooms where all they ever get is reading by itself and science by itself and technology by itself, and we never bring all these things together and show how do they fit in the real world, and how do we really solve problems using all of these things together, then how do we expect them to go out in the world and suddenly, okay, you graduated today, now tomorrow you have a job, and they're like, okay, what do I do with it? They have no clue. And so that's really the mindset that we need to take on, is preparing them for the world.
So it's like you are saying this STEM is for lifelong help.
Yes.
For them, even when they are working.
Yes.
Yeah, in any field they can use it. Even they can apply these skills even in their careers.
Yes. And if they can't, it's going to get harder and harder and harder for them to get a job without these skills.
Okay. So your children, are they into STEM or STEAM or gifted and talented?
One of my sons was in gifted and talented. One was not. One of my sons actually goes to a math and science school now, and he is very into STEAM. One of my sons, I've had to force him more so into it in certain capacities just because the exposure is important. But he is less eager to be involved, but nonetheless has to be involved.
Yeah. So, as a mom, what did you notice? Like, what did you see before and after getting into the program in your son?
Really just that problem solving ability, that independence aspect, and really just figuring things out on their own. The change from asking questions about every single little thing, and just starting to figure things out. Something as simple as them unloading the dishwasher, not asking me where everything goes, but starting to realize that certain logics existed in my kitchen. Certain things are placed near certain other things. So this is this type of thing. It's a utensil. So it's probably near the stove because that's what she uses when she cooks, right? So before they ask, they will go and look. And those are the kind of skills that employers are looking for, is that same type of thing. Nobody wants to hire someone that, literally ask a question about every single thing that they do.
So, does it like how it is helping in his social skills? Will it help?
With the STEM and STEAM, that doesn't so much focus on the social interactions, but it does in the sense if they are really doing a program where they require the students to work together, if they require that collaboration, you're going to force kids to have to communicate. And when you are really doing problem solving or project based, and this is where I probably do the most work with teachers, is really getting them to understand what that looks like. Because it's very hard when you're a teacher to see a child struggle with they're not getting it. They're not getting the right answer, or they're not getting things correct. And oftentimes we want to jump in and tell them the right answers, or, feed it to them. And so what we have to learn is how to step back and do more of that guiding, but let the child figure it out. And when you do that, part of that is also with that communication. When he is consistently telling Johnny something and Johnny isn't understanding, well, he has to keep trying until he figures out a way to get his point across if they're ever going to solve the problem. And so eventually they learn how to sort of combat some of those skills on their own, overcome some of those problems just naturally through trial and error. And that's what we want them to do, because that's what's going to happen in a real world setting. There's not going to be anybody there to jump in and say, you're not doing it right. This is how you should do that. Right.
So, as an expert in gifted and talented and STEM and STEAM, and also as an experienced teacher, what tips you can share with parents, all the moms in the wellness women group?
I will tell you, first off, really appreciate your teachers. All of them work really hard, more so than you could ever imagine. The days are long and they're very stressful. So please don't forget that when you're communicating. They're not in the job for the pay. So, when you're talking to them, really keep that in mind. Whether they're going about it in the right way, their intentions are always usually good. And that, getting the teacher on your side can do wonders for your children. But also, if your school doesn't have any type of STEM or STEAM implementation going on, it is truly, truly important for you as a parent to be an advocate. You need to be at those school board meetings. You need to be talking with administrators. You need to get together with other parents. If the school won't do it on their own, at least, if nothing else, get you guys, get together and get an after school program going that a parent runs. And the school allows you to use their facilities or whatever. But the kids need these programs. It is so, so crucial that they are involved in these programs. And if your child is a child that you see the benefits of gifted and talented for them, please advocate for your children. Get them into the programs. And if you're not sure about ways to do that, or you have a specific situation and you don't have someone to reach out to, please reach out to me and I'm happy to help you with that. That's a very unique situation that's hard to give broad advice on, because again, it depends on the type of program and it depends on the child. But also, if they tell you that your child doesn't qualify, don't try to put your child into a program that may not be best suited for them. I've also seen that where parents so desperately want their kid to be called gifted, that is their only focus. And sometimes it's not the best fit for the child. And so you can create a lot of additional anxiety and stress for the child that is not in the best interest of the child.
Yeah. Yeah, I have seen like some parents are really very crazy
Yeah.
because he's gifted and talented. They want to they want to present their kid in front of everyone, gifted
Yeah.
and talented. So as a parent, we should definitely accept how our kid is. It's not like if they achieve something, then only. It's not like that. Whatever they are, however they are, we need to accept them in the same way.
Yeah. Really ask lots of questions. And like I said, find out what kind of programs they do have at the school and find out if your child has access, because this really should be something every kid should have access to. And if they say they have it, ask them, how are you implementing it? How is my child getting it? And really listen for real world problem solving. A lot of times they hear we've got robots and they think, oh, we've got STEM. Just because they have robots, if they don't really have a curriculum and they aren't really doing project-based learning, they really aren't getting the benefits of STEM and STEAM.
Okay. So suppose is it like if the school is not supporting that, but still they gave the permission for the parents to use the school facility, then is it like after school program?
Yeah, if they would do that, that would be an after school program. Usually there's some sort of permissions involved. So you'll need to work with the school administrators for that, and find out what sort of permission slips and things like that are necessary for the children to participate. And then depending on, where you are and what kind of area you're in, I've seen it where the kids' parents pay for them to be part of it. And that's where the funding comes from. I've also seen where funding can come within the community. So a lot of times if a parent's interested and you're in a lower socioeconomic area and the parents can't afford it, what you can do is often talk to some of the businesses in your area, and they will a lot of times donate to the program for it to, get the funding from them. And then that money is used to fund resources for the program.
Okay. So regarding the like as a teacher, like can you share some tips for the parents, even for me, like how to help the kids in learning on daily basis, like whether it is math or whether it is any subject, how to make it easier?
How to make it easier. The one thing I will tell you is find something that engages them. So whatever your child's interest is, play off of that interest. So, if they're reading, if they like something specific, like they're into dinosaurs, get books on dinosaurs. They're going to be more willing to read something that they like rather than something you're just going to force them to read. If it's math and they're struggling with math, that can be tricky because sometimes there can be, and the same thing with reading. Be careful too that it's not really a disorder, that they're not struggling with something bigger than what you can help. You may need additional services for them. Make sure they're not suffering with, something like dyslexia or a learning disability, that, you really can help. But on our website, we do a lot of free resource stuff. So make sure and check that out. We have math tutoring apps that are, free resources. We also have a whole article on free reading resources. So feel free to check those out. And kind of find one that you think is most suitable based on your child and what they like to do. That's my biggest piece of advice is when you're working with kids, it's all about engagement. If you can't get them engaged, it doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to get them on board. So work and play to their interest as much as
So
humanly possible.
The app in your website, that is math tutoring app, is it paid or free?
No, we've got a whole thing on free math tutoring assistance and a whole thing for free reading assistance. So there's two different articles there, and all of those are free resources.
Yeah, I think we have 4 minutes still to end this live. So my last question is like, as this academic year is ending and kids will be free for in the summer vacation. So, is there any online program which you can offer, or like, are you planning anything for summer programs, summer STEM programs?
I am not personally, but what I have done is today, matter of fact, it went up on our site. I posted an article for summer resources for parents. So it's all about what you can do with your kids over the summer to keep them engaged in learning and keep them excited about learning. And it covers every subject area that you possibly could think of. Some are paid, some are free. So make sure and check out that article on our website, and kind of, again, decide what your child's interest is and look at, your budget and what you're able to invest in. And there's something in that article for everybody at every economic level.
Definitely, I made a decision that after listening to you, that I decided to send my two sons, in STEM programming this vacation time outside the school. I think again, what are the exact places to look for STEM?
Again, because of the U.S. being so widespread, I would really start locally. Look at your local library; often will have things posted. Check out the universities. Most people don't realize that a lot of the universities will have things for younger students over the summer. So they'll offer things like camps and stuff like that that are accessible to students during the summertime. And oftentimes it is like graduate students and things like that that are putting it on. So look into the universities, look at the libraries, and if you have any community centers or youth centers in your area, like YMCAs or things like that, check into those. The Boys and Girls Clubs, if you have those nearby, those are some great ones. And I will tell you, things like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts are starting to get heavily involved in STEM skills as well. So don't discard those programs also.
So, in your article, you have mentioned like all the resources, like where we can find the STEM programs.
I haven't given you camps because that really does depend regionally. Everybody kind of does it differently, but I've given you apps and specific resources and places to look for generically, like what I just talked about, talking to your local libraries and things like that, as to where you can find out information. And don't forget to check with the schools.
Yeah, like many other, now we have like many online paid apps. Do we have something like online paid programs, STEM, or apps, paid apps where we can?
There are some apps. Yep. And so the apps that you can do and that you can purchase are in that article. So ones that I think are really good. And I kind of give you where the pricing runs for those so you can see that. And I tried to give, several that are super cheap, like for $3 to $5, you can download an app and the kid can play it whenever. And then there's a lot of free stuff out there. Things like code.org is a great one, and it's a free resource. So just really kind of getting in there and looking. Like I said, we have a ton of stuff on our website. We could be here all night just talking about resources that are available. Um,
Okay. Thank you so much, Alicia. I think, yeah, we finished successfully 60 minutes. Thank you for accepting my invite, and thank you joining me today and sharing so much valuable information on gifted and talented STEM and STEAM. And I hope all the moms have got the information they required and their big whys why they have to prefer STEM or STEAM
yes.
over gifted and talented.
Yes. And like I said, please reach out if you have any questions, and I'll share in the Facebook group all of my information as well.
Yeah, if you want to know further information, then you can reach out to Alicia directly. So, Alicia, please share your details in the group and also your article, what you said. Please
Yes.
post in this group. And this live will be available in the YouTube, um, so that you can replay it and understand everything clearly about the different types of educational implementations. So with this, we are concluding this live and see you on Saturday, May 14th at 4 p.m. CST with gut health expert. So till then, bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.